this time we're doing a far more complicated card as my first entry into Craft Roulette ever, so here's hoping this video isn't like 3 hours long, but if it is, that's fine too. So, the parameters for this week's Craft Roulette were that the card has to use a fancy fold, which is why we're looking at this really cool like locking gatefold thing, and that needed a focal point starting with D. So, as is my usual go-to, I have to go with like a Simon Hurley dude because he has the best dudes. Some of the only dudes, but some of the best dudes. But actually, I think Diane Waverly did some good, like men as well, but I don't know. I could look at, I have a couple of those. We could also do, I could do that instead, but I actually like this because one of the other things is penance, so we have penance right here. So I think that'll be just sort of a cool, I don't know, general idea. So that is what I was planning to do there. You used Cheers and You Did It as sort of the inside sentiments. And I don't think I need any of these, but I pulled some additional sentiments just in case I needed them. I'll get those out of the way. And since I want to go, so this is for a friend of mine, Smokey Steve and Mark, and they're getting married. And the wedding colors are white, black, and red. So I want to do sort of some pattern paper and some white with some gray, because the color palette is dusty, which includes all your neutrals anyway, but it's going to the card's going to basically mirror the colors of their wedding, other than anything that, other than the guy, because I want the dude to just sort of be very colorful and sort of the focal point. But anyway, so I'm going to basically cut pattern panels out of that. You can kind of see how these things look when you're done. You basically have two front panels, like two side panels, with a locking piece with a central sentiment on it. Although, obviously, you could like make that the focus of the card as well. So, for that, I think I'll just go with I'm Proud of You. I really like that one for this particular occasion. I might do a little light ink blending with sort of the red color. This is Rouge, which is a fairly sort of bricky, muted kind of red. It's hard to see on the ink pad, but I think you could do a little ink blending on sort of the front piece, perhaps. So I may do that, but the first thing to do is to cut a bunch of stuff off. So I'm going to, and I never make card bases, so this should be just fascinating. So the first piece I need is 11 by 4.5, and I had to break out my actual like big cutter here. So 4.5 is here. Pretty nice cut. So basically this will fold in. Actually, we can just go ahead and score it since it's one of the few things that needs scoring. So we're going to score that at 2.75, 3 1/8, 3 3/4. So we can do that twice. It's interesting. I rarely, if ever, make my own card bases, so this should be interesting. And I think one of these is a little not right because it's supposed to fold not fully 2 3/4. Did I score that wrong? 2.75. And then this one is 2.75. Okay. Well, in theory, these should work. Doesn't seem like there's a gap here, but that may just be because I cut it slightly unevenly. If the locking piece doesn't fit in, we can always like just trim up the sides a little bit in the other trimmer. I'm just gonna make this crease a little more apparent. Yeah, there's not much. I guess there might be. There's a slight gap, I guess. There's like a very, very slight gap, but my first ever time making a card base that I am pretty happy with. So the next thing I need to do, grab my. I need a bunch of squares, which need to be 3.5 inches. This is 4, so we can make this 3.5 inches pretty easily. I don't think we can really. We have a nice little piece of scrap, which might be handy for ink blending later, but anyway. And then we want to make some more 3.5 inch. So we basically get squares that are 3.5 inches, but basically can only get 3 out of this, so we have to cut into another piece of paper to basically just cut 1 square. Those are off to the side. So this is it. I'm probably gonna get rid of my paper cutter for the moment. Actually, I know I need side panels. I don't know if I want a front panel. I think a front panel would be okay. Put the side panel. I think a front panel would be okay with this. So, I mean, I think if you stamped a big sentiment over here, it would be really apparent. So I kind of want to use like the edges down here more, and then maybe I'll use a slightly different part. Anyway, so 2.5 by 4. So really, two and a half by 4 inches. So it's like I want 4 inches is going to be the long dimension. So 2.5. I mean, yeah, I'm kind of. Actually, I don't know if it matters in this particular case, but I think I am cutting that backwards. So I want 2.5. 2.5 here would be the the up and down, and then I'll grab this by 4. So this would basically sit here, which I like. So you have this piece I have. That would probably work too, so I'll just try to not. That I think will look quite nice. Be pretty monochromatic, but I like it kind of as a, I mean, I think from a pattern standpoint that makes sense. For the square, the center square, what would we need? Do. 3 1/4 by 3 1/4 because they're 3 1/2. So maybe we'll just do here. This would be 3 1/4. And this would be 3 1/4. And this would mat on one of these guys. That would cover the whole thing. I kind of want to take I want to change the size of this mat a little bit because I want to get rid of some of this side. That's 3 1/4. Let's make it 3 by 3. Let's look at that. I like that better. Yeah, I like that better, I think. And then we can then if I grab my sentiment, I think the sentiment will slightly exceed that, so that's cool. Maybe I'll just actually stamp in this red, and then I may do a little ink blending with it on the inside, as just sort of like around the edges kind of an element. So I don't think I need to cut anything else, at least for a while, until I decide something doesn't work out quite right. I'll just put all my scrap back on here for your moment. I think the next order of business really, I think it would be easier to, well, I think I'd like to do a little ink blending on this piece of pattern paper. Really, I guess not. Well, we'll just use the back of this guy. I'd like to do a little ink blending here, because I'd like, see, it's a really kind of a bricky red, so I'd like to sort of do, like sort of a little edge technique, kind of. Like I just want to sort of kiss the edges here a little bit. Yeah, I do like this. I'm liking this a lot. Like to sort of bring in the wow, this is a really pigmented ink. I think this will look really cool. Except I turned my hand red nicely. But that's why baby wipes are a thing. Although I found them for somewhere. Oops. Sorry about that. My camera is a little crooked today. Well, as long as I'm not getting ink on myself, I am a happy boy. See? This is why we have instructions. Anyway, so I think this will look really neat. And then I'll do the sentiment in black on top of it. And I might do a little ink blending on the inside as well. Although I think the ink is really saturated, so I think I will want to either mask off or blend off a little bit. Let me do sort of, since I have just a little bit left on here, I think I'm just going to do a little dusty background. I think that's all I really want, because I'm going to go and add a lot of stuff in black, but sort of a dusty background. But that, like in low doses, like this really is kind of a neat sort of dusty red. This is a little bit of an oopsie, but again, like I don't think... Oopsies make it look handmade, right? So I'm going to set that to the side, and start to work on... Whoops, I'm upside down. Start to work on this X piece, which is basically just taking two of these squares and folding them and adhering them to one of the bottom squares. So I'm going to grab my score pal and score each in the middle at 1.75. So we will find 1.75, which is here, and then do the same thing. Oops. Well, a little different. This to the side. Then basically I'm just taking my bone folder and making sure this crease is here. Because we really want this to lay flat. Because essentially this piece is going to go together like this and serve as the locking piece. And then we do the same thing here. What we do is, well, suggest using adhesive, so I think I will use adhesive. I'm obviously a little bit more of a, I don't know. I'm more of a person who prefers using tape mostly. So we will put a little adhesive here. Basically, make sure we've got that lined up, which is a little off. Which is kind of the nice part about glue. It does give you a little more. Actually, we could do this in a less stupid way. Couldn't we? We could take our... figure out which side it is. I mean, we could just push all of this into the corner and... do the same on this side. Basically, need this to be so you can kind of see how this goes together. There's a little line here. Don't think it will matter because actually we can still fill this up. I will put that back. And we have a cat. Hello, that is Kaiser. He is one of our two helpers. He accepts treats as well. And I got a little redness on here. But here we go. Now these are laying flat. And you have basically your little like wing pieces. So then what I want to do is go and grab my two front pieces. Shouldn't take a ton of glue because I would prefer if this dries quickly. Push it down. We're going to want to sort of, I guess probably I want it this way so that it's a little more, you know. I've been really a fan of chill lo-fi recently, which is why I'm playing music, because I think it's really nice when you're crafting. So it looks more or less even. A little glue on the outside, that's fine. This, I think we're good with at the moment. Just push down to make sure. I think we're good with scoring at the moment. So I am going to stamp the sentiment on this. I'm going to do the inside first and just sort of put this to the side and let the glue sort of glue. I'll probably put my panels on last. I'm just going to work on the inside. This is annoying, but, you know, I don't think people outside of me are going to care all that much. Let's see where our parties and dudes went. Too bad, like, there's no way to, like, consider a bear a dude, because I really love the Simon Hurley bear. It's one of my, like, favorite things. I know that he has said in the past that he's gone in sort of a more serious direction now, and that is just fine. But I still really like the bear. And a lot of this earlier stuff that's a little more, I don't know, cute, I would say. So what I want to do is get our grab our Misty and start working on stamping. Put that guy over there. So I'm kind of grounding it in the corner. It gets a little strange with some of these stranger like gatefolds and such. Misty is so good it picked it up even when I wasn't intending it to. So I really want to just sort of have this sort of in the center here. I guess it doesn't have to be like super centered because my style isn't that like, oh my god, it needs to be perfect, but I will center it and then I'll put the magnet here and then we will go down and pick it up, and I'm going to use midnight again so it gets a little more, make sure we get a good stamp because it says happy and I like that. And I smushed it a little bit, but you know. I like how that came out. Now we need a few other things. I'll grab this guy off for a moment. Just get some ink off the Misties, because I think I inadvertently, yeah. I don't know if I can get this ink off. Yeah, it's probably just going to be more of a mess if I try and get it off the cardstock, so I'll just leave it as is. I don't know. So let's see what we want. I think I really want to... I like the idea of sort of having my guy on the side. Like that. And then... I like Cheers You Made It as a sentiment here, I think. See if we can avoid doing it upside down, but cheers. I did. I'm good at putting things back in reverse. But I think cheers, you've made it. I like how that's looking. Going to put my magnet here. Huh. I didn't think I had anything on the magnet. Oh well. We could put something over that too. I have some Halloween-y stuff. We could probably put something over that. Anyway, let's pick up our stamps. Let me just jump over here. What we have. The folks involved are huge Halloween people, so I think what we can do... I don't know how that happened. I mean, the weird thing is it feels like wet ink, and I don't think I have any ink on my hands, but who knows. I mean, you could also just blend it in, too, which would probably be okay. Well, clean this while I'm here. I'm thinking we could add the bat over that. Because it's perfect, and that adds a little sparkly element, and it's still in keeping with my color scheme, and hooray. Okay, let's stamp the rest of this stuff out. And I think I got some extra on there. Which I'll just wipe up. Anyway, get this in the corner. This down here I think will be the most. I like that. I like that as is. Maybe a little. Doesn't need much on there. But the cheers could be a little more cheers. I really need need to be careful with. Anyway, this looks awesome. I am really digging it. The side's a little jacked up, but that's okay. But I like how this is laying out. I may do a little coloring. I mean, we could do a dusty, I don't know. Could find a slightly darker red, I think. Because a dusty red, if you will, or a Merlot, or I don't know, something like that. I must have sort of a purpley red, kinda. A little more purple than red. But I like giving a little character here. And then in keeping, what color is this? Oh, it's dark purple. Well, let's give, since we're going for more of a red than a purple, let's find I want kind of a magenta-y. What color is this? It's sort of that strikes me as kind of a dusty red. It's like a dusty red with glitter, but I think I'm going to use it on my dude's shirt. I like that. Now on to finishing the card, even though it's mostly together. So this piece is feeling pretty good. Yeah, and it's lying nicely, pretty nice and flat, which I like. Because ultimately what this is gonna do I think this needs a little more play than it has, but I'm going to trim these a little bit. But ultimately it would stick in like this. But I think this needs a little attention. Just want to basically like shave the edge off this a little bit. Like, I don't want to take a lot off, I just want to shave off maybe 1/8 of an inch so that there's an actual gap. And see how this... See, now there's more of a gap here, and I think that will allow this locking mechanism to do its deal. Yeah. There we go. It's upside down, but you get it. But I think with this other pattern paper on the sides, it'll look really neat from anyway. That's good. I'm just gonna... So that's fine. So let's just grab my tape and put these panels on, and then we will work on the sentiment, and I think we are good to go on our first Craft Roulette challenge. Now these have... It's really subtle, but there is actual, like... oops. This, I think, is not an accurate measurement. Because, like, the height here looks good, but this looks like you'd have basically no matting, so... But we can fix that, because it will just be a little difficult, because we're going to have to pull up the guard a little bit, just because there's tape on the bottom of this. And getting this out is going to be kind of a bear, but it'll be fine. This also... Let me just grab my other piece here to see if these... I know that one of these was... Yeah, I think so. So we're looking at the right side. Obviously, this sort of inner piece doesn't matter. This piece matters a little bit less. So maybe I just miscut that one. That seems like it. Because this one seems fine. So I must have just mismeasured one. That's good. So really the only thing left to deal with is this guy. Need to decide. I think I had a sentiment I had in mind, but then we changed our mind a few times. So you do you. I was using earlier. So I'm just gonna a couple others. Just need to be put back. I'm so proud of you, especially for the space we're gonna use, and hope if we had our piece where we want it. This might turn out to be a little challenging because this thing is pretty thick, but we'll make the best of it. I think that'll be okay. I'll do this. I think this will work. We're going to be much more careful this time about dinging things with the ink pad. That's on the other side. Okay. As long as you hold them horizontal, it's pretty good, but I have a tendency to like to use a, I don't know. I tend to like to roll the ink pad, and sometimes that'll leave ink marks on the actual face of the Misty, so maybe just seems like it needs a little help. That looks good. Let it dry, and It's one of these. Back. And I think we are pretty much done with the challenge. So I guess we should run through parameters and make sure we didn't forget anything. We have a dusty color scheme. We just did a dusty red. Have a focal element of a dude who is very excited about my friend's wedding. What color is hair actually? Like a dusty brown. Because I have more dirty blonde hair, but find a dirty blonde sort of color. A dusty blonde, one might say. Or a dusty brown. This is kind of a dusty brown. This is dark brown. Sort of a dusty color. Well, it doesn't have to be true to life. So, I'm just going to use this. I'm going to blend this. I'm going to blend that with a darker brown to kind of get the thing I'm going for. What is this? This is light brown, which is actually kind of a dusty color. We're just kind of gonna. I like that. I'll do a little color on the tree too. Not a ton. See, this I would call probably the dustiest of browns I have. There we go. This is done. We will put the mechanism on, and you just sort of slide it into the middle. I like it. And sort of the details, so that's sort of the outside, and then the inside you saw earlier. So I think we're good. First ever Craft Roulette and fancy fold, so we shall see.